benches and seats. I think someone will be around in a second to wipe off some of the seats as well.
Instructions for their use are located inside the lockers and seat boxes.
Okay, on the other side of the river, we have this building. It almost looks like a wedding cake with the 4 little tempietos on that first level and a round top. This is the jeweler's building. It originally had an elevator for your car, so you could on the 20th floor. That's so that workers in the jeweler's building wouldn't get mugged on their way into work. It was once home to the Stratosphere Lounge, which is rumored to have hosted Al Capone. Bouncing back over to the right, he taught at the Illinois Institute of Chicago on the south side, where he taught the phrase, "Less is more," taking all of the ornamentation off of the building. Ooh, and letting the structure speak for itself. One of his students did not believe that less is more. He built the buildings across the street and they never spoke again. These are Marina City Towers, the corn cobs of the Midwest. You might recognize them from a Wilco album. They've also been in movies like The Fugitive, While You Were Sleeping, the latest Candyman movie. So these were built in 1964 and 1967. When they were first built, not a lot of people lived downtown. So everything you would need were right here in the building. Smith & Wolinski's here was a roller rink. The House of Blues on the other side was originally their movie theater. They had dentist's office, doctor's office, grocery stores, etc. It was an introvert's dream. Anything you needed were right here in your apartment. You never have to leave. The apartments are almost like a flower, so we've got a strong elevator core in the middle, a round hallway, and then each apartment is shaped like a pizza. So you open up the door to your apartment, it starts out narrow, gets wide as you walk towards your rounded balcony. You'll also notice we've got these parking ramps. People often ask, has anybody driven their car off of it? People love to wave at you when you're on the road. I don't know what it is. We're special and we're good. Okay, so people often ask, has anybody ever driven their car off of the side of this crazy parking movie? The Hunter by Steve went off the side with a billboard that said, "Are you in good hands?" If you decide you want to live in Marina City Towers, you don't have to worry. As we get closer, count the bays of windows to the right and left of the clock tower. Let me know if you see anything strange. So it is asymmetrical. To the right of the clock tower, we've got 6 bays of windows. To the left, we've only got 5. They had to smush the building in when they widened the LaSalle Street Bridge. Smush is a technical term. So if we were to do this tour 100 years ago, most of the buildings would look like this, brick warehouses. This has since been renovated to be office space for Encyclopedia Britannica and Walpole. To the right, we've got 300 North LaSalle, built in 2016. This is one of the most environmentally friendly buildings in the city of Chicago. It is LEED certified platinum. LEED stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, platinum being the highest achievement you can get. The building is made out of recycled steel and glass. It originally did not have air conditioning. It would take in river water to cool the building down, pump it out cleaner than it came in. Unfortunately, that process warmed the water up too much. It was affecting the local ecosystem. They had to switch back to good old air conditioning. To the right, this is the Merchandise Mart, built in the 1930s. This is the second biggest building in the world, the first being the Pentagon. This is the Art Deco style of architecture. So we've got a geometric design at the bottom, stacks of windows and setbacks at the top. We've got these bronze heads facing towards the building. Those were all leaders in business at the time of its construction. People from Spiegel, Montgomery Ward, etc. If you push them back, a piece of candy comes out. That's a pest joke. So originally, this was a warehouse for Marshall Fields. Marshall Fields, now known as Macy's. 4.2 million square feet of space inside. It was big enough to have its own zip code until the 90s. It had its own train stop as well. This is now a showroom for different furniture designers, so you can't buy a couch here, but a place like Anthropologie could buy 5,000 couches here. To the right, we've got Wolf Point. The Kennedy family sold the Merchandise Mart and Wolf Point for $535 million in the 80s. Wolf Point is a very significant place in Chicago history. It was regarded as a sacred place by the Native Americans. This is where the first taverns in the city were. We heard the Native Americans refer to this area as Chicago in those taverns. We thought that they meant the name of the location. In reality, we were talking about the smell. Hundreds of years ago, this was a marshy swampland where mostly onions grew and wild skunks thrived. So Chicago translates to stinky onion water. Okay, ahead and to the right, you're gonna see a building that almost looks like a pencil standing on its tip. The reason it has such a narrow base is because the other side of the building, the railway station runs underneath. They couldn't dig a foundation. On this side, it's a little bit too close to the riverbank. This one passed the bridge here. So instead they opted for a 40-foot base made of concrete and marble. 40 feet is about the width of this boat. So the whole building balances on that base. So as we pass underneath the bridge, you can look up and see our reflection in the mirror. I think we look, or the window, I think we look cute if you want to take a little mirror selfie. You can also see these beams going up along the side of the building. Those are called the I-beams. They're made out of steel from Luxembourg, fancy. That's super strong, that helps provide structure from the outside. This building has what's known as a mass damper system. So towards the top of the building, there's a floor with automated containers of about 60,000 gallons of water. If the building sways one way and the high velocity winds up there, the water automatically sloshes and slides to the other side of the room, keeping the building steady. This is the Boeing building. You'll notice it has all of its windows and doors. Sometimes people don't get that one. Okay. Boeing recently moved to Washington, D.C., but they haven't sold the naming rights to the building as of yet. So in America, we have what's known as air rights. If you own a property, you also own the air above it. Because of that, this stands on top of the railway system. Boeing pays $8 million a year to rent the space above the railway system. Similar to the last building, they had to come up with a creative solution for the south end. So after we pass under the bridge, look up and back, you'll notice there are X-shaped braces at the top of the building. There's no foundation underneath. The building hangs off of those trusses like a swing set. So they won a lot of engineering awards for figuring that out. So those trusses up there. To the right, we've got 2 North Riverside Plaza. This is the first Riverside Plaza in the city of Chicago. Also in the Art Deco set 1 and 2, designed by Mies van der Rohe's students in that international black box modernist style of design. You can see at eye level that railway I've been talking about. You can see a metro train right there. If you're not from Chicago, the metro trains service the suburbs. Oh, and we've got an Amtrak as well. So because of the railway station, these 2 buildings have to be shake, sound, and smell proof. The buildings themselves filter out the exhaust from the trains as they pass underneath, and the buildings have been engineered in a way that they don't shake or make sound as the buildings pass throughout the day. Gateway Centers 1 and 2 are completely identical. They're also 300 feet tall. If you look up and to the left, you'll notice the antennas on top of Sears Tower. Those are also 300 feet tall, so it gives you some perspective. So now we'll talk about the Sears Tower. This is the tallest building in Chicago. At the time of its construction in 1971, it was the tallest building in the world. On the left here. Designed by lead architect Bruce Graham, lead engineer Dr. Fazlur Rahman Khan. This is the very first example of what's now known as bundled tubular construction. So it's 9 different towers bundled together to support one another, which allows for its great height. All of the super tall buildings in the world now feature bundled tubular construction. We're going to turn around right in front of it and we'll have a quick view here. So over 100 floors tall, almost 1,400 feet tall, 4,000 bronze tinted windows along the facade. This is Sears Tower. You'll notice those glass rooms up there. That's observation deck. You can pay a lot of money to go up there and scare yourself. Get one picture taken. They've got glass floors. I took my mom there 7 years ago. The next day in the news, it was reported that the floor in one of those rooms had cracked. They asked the engineer, is that supposed to happen? He said, every 5 years, tallest building in the world. It remains the tallest building in Chicago, and it will remain that way until the Committee for Tall Buildings, that's the real name of the real committee, decides otherwise. Radio and television waves, but something like the spire on top of Trump Tower counts towards that building's total height because it's purely decorative. They did a PR stunt a couple years ago where they had the antennas get married. They put a bow tie on one, a veil on the other. It was super cute. I didn't make it to the ceremony, but I heard the reception was big. There's gonna be a lot more fun, I know, sorry. Okay, to the right we've got this building with the concrete outside. That was it. Originally on the building, they added that to cool the building down. However, peregrine falcons have started to nest on the 7th floor, which is a good sign. It means that there's fish for them to hunt in the river, but they do on occasion swoop down and attack people, especially if they have an interesting half-moon. So to the right, this is the Chicago, designed by Fujikawa and Johnson. You'll see 16 different corner offices on each floor, so a lot of important feeling people in the building. This also allows for this bridge house to miss the building by just a couple of inches. Hello. So if you have a bridge house on your property in Chicago, it's technically a landmark. You can't tear it down. If you're interested in these cute little buildings off of the bridges, across from where we docked is the Chicago Bridge House Museum. It's completely free. You can go inside, see the gigantic gears and how those bridges are operated. To the right, we've got the Civic Opera Building. You'll notice these singing faces along the facade. So this building's outside is neoclassically inspired by Greek and Roman design, which is why it's got those singing faces and that Greek comedy and tragedy theater mask motif. Also why we've got a V in building instead of a U. There's no U in the Roman alphabet. There's no I in team. This was built in the 1930s. If you look towards the top, it kind of looks like a chair. This building has a nickname, Insol's Throne, so there is an urban legend that goes with it. Allegedly, the man who had it built, William Insol, wanted it to look like a throne with its back towards New York City. That's because he had a mistress, allegedly, who was an opera singer from New York. She wasn't getting any work there. He said, babe, come to Chicago, I'll build you a whole opera theater. She came to Chicago, she sang in the opera theater, he made for her, and she was bad. People left. She wasn't a good singer. After 2 weeks, the opera theater closed because the stock market crashed. William Insel lost all of his money during the Great Depression. He was found dead in the streets of Paris with only 60 cents to his name. But this goes to show you shouldn't build a whole opera theater for your sign piece. That old saying we're all saying, move on his head. Okay, to the right, you'll see a Starbucks. And past that, we've got this brick building. This is the Great Lakes building, home to Beacon on the river. But before that, it was home to the Saguenay Hotel. And before that, in this spot, a temporary structure called the Wigwam stood. In the Wigwam, the 1860 National Convention was held. That is where a man learned Republican National Convention, rather. This is where a man learned he was going to be a presidential candidate. He went on to become president. He's on the penny, wears a top hat. Anybody want to guess it? Lincoln! Okay, I get a lot of hints because sometimes, one time someone said Obama. Okay. Coming up on the right, This is the Chicago Riverwalk, 1.3 miles of sidewalk here all the way to the lake. Originally there was a sidewalk along the river, but you had to walk up and down the stairs every time you got to a bridge. These were added in 2002, so you no longer have to do that. Each one is almost like a mini park, and they have their own themes. This one's theme is convergence. You can sit in these free Adirondack chairs and look at the junction of the river. Past that, you can kind of see those traffic lights behind that chain link fence. That's Lower Wacker Drive. Don't go down there. You'll get lost, you'll get scared. Your GPS can't help. Don't go down there. Above that, we've got 333 West Wacker, voted one of the most beautiful buildings in the city of Chicago. It curves with the curve of the river. That's called contextualism, when a building's design takes into account its surroundings. If this building looks familiar, it was Ferris Bueller's father's office in Ferris Bueller's Day. That movie turns 40 years old this year. Take a picture of the L train with the skyline if you'd like. Okay, beneath this bridge here, you've got a silver structure. This is called an eyelash. It protects pedestrians from anything that might fall down from the bridge above, in this case the rain. Past that, if you look to the right, coming into view above these piers is a gray box with a bunch of lenses. Those are projectors. They project art onto the merchandise mart every Thursday through Sunday night around sunset. So come back around here. You'll be able to see one of the biggest art installations in the world. It's called Art on the Mart, if you can believe it. So this section of the Riverwalk is themed fishing. You can come here, fish off these piers. It is catch and release. The river's still pretty gross. We've got these floating gardens. Those are called fish hotels. They do what they sound like they do, provide fish a place to spawn, lay eggs in the aquatic root system, get a little snack. In the 70s, we only had 5 species of fish. Because the river was so polluted, we're up to about 72 different species of fish. So the water gets cleaner and cleaner every year. It is reported that we will be able to safely swim in the river by 2060. Get excited. Okay, to the right. This is another Beaux-Arts style building. So we've got ornamentation at the bottom and what looks like a temple at the top. But the section that looks like it was made in Minecraft, that was added in the 1980s. That's postmodernism, taking the elements on the left, simplifying them down, adding new materials, the reflective glass and steel, and the glass mantle roof along the top. Okay, so usually when it's not raining, there's a ton of people sitting here. This area is called the theater, which kind of makes us the show. Sometimes they pull a barge up here to have a concert, but I feel like there's really good people watching over here. You can always see someone pretending to read a book. Modernism. Taking the old, adding the new, reflective glass. It looks like you can see right through the building. Next to that, we've got 55 West Wacker. Sometimes people call this the hashtag building. This is not an ugly building. One time someone tried to call it a Danny DeVito between these two. Danny DeVito is a really nice person. So this is an example of brutalism, not because the building is harsh, but because it's made out of raw concrete. Brutalism comes from the French term béton brut, raw concrete. Past that, right after the bridge, you're going to see a black building with silver bars in the windows. This is the Leo Burnett building. Those silver bars are called mullions. They sparkle in the sunlight. They also reflect the sunlight further into the building, making it more energy efficient. This is home to the Leo Burnett Advertising Agency. They've come up with things like Tony the Tiger, Pillsbury Doughboy, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and my favorite, the Meow Mix theme song. Sing it if you know it. Meow, 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 meow. Okay. No one else. Perfect. Past the bridge, this grassy area is our Vietnam Veterans Memorial Park. And above that, we're going to look up and past the Witness Steakhouse sign. You'll see a green terracotta building with a gold top. This is the Carbon and Carbide building. If it looks like a champagne bottle, that's because it was designed to look like a champagne bottle. Built in the 1920s, designed to protest prohibition. They were inspired by an illegal champagne bottle at a New Year's Eve party, designed by Daniel Burnham and his brother. This building with the blue windows, the Royal Semester, if you've seen The Dark Knight, this is Bruce Wayne's penthouse in the movie where he has that party scene. So next to that, We've got this narrow skyscraper with a tower on the top. This is Mather Tower, built in the late 1920s. At the time of its construction, it was the tallest building in the city for 2 whole weeks. Which just goes to show how quickly people were engineering, outbuilding one another. This is the most narrow skyscraper in Chicago. That top room has a radius of only 9 feet. We've got this mural with the American flag on top. This is Tribune Tower, built in the 1920s. This building is the result of a competition. The Chicago Tribune wanted to see who could build the most, or who could design the most beautiful office building. This building, inspired by Gothic cathedrals in Europe, won. After the tour, walk up to the building. The door has characters from Aesop's fables carved into it. It's also got bricks from all over the world. Places like the pyramids in Pisa, the Great Wall in China, collected by correspondents from the Chicago Tribune. It's also home to the Museum of Ice Cream, which I hear has a sprinkle pit. Up and to the left, you're going to notice the peacock logo. This is NBC Tower, built in the 1980s. Another Adrian Smith design earlier on in his career. This is inspired by 30 Rockefeller Center, so it's technically Neo-Art Deco. A very important show was filmed in this building, the Jerry Springer Show. If you're not familiar with Jerry Springer, it was an educational program, much like Mr. Rogers. So, up and to the right, we've got this building with the strong white vertical lines. This is the Aon Center, 4th tallest building in the city of Chicago. It was originally clad in Carrara marble. That is the same marble that Michelangelo made the statue David out of. But after 9 harsh Chicago winters, the marble started to fall off of the building. They had to reclad the whole thing with granite from North Carolina. It cost $8 million. That goes to show you can't take marbles for granted. Okay, I think that one rocks. Past the James Hardy building, you'll see a building with wavy balconies. This is Aqua, designed by local Chicago architect Jeannie Gang of Gang Studio Gang. So built in 2009, at the time of its construction, it was the tallest building in the world, designed by a lead female architect. Give it up for women. Some of y'all didn't clap. This is no longer the tallest building in the world, designed by a lead female architect. It's number 4. But we do have number 1 right here on the river. The next building we're going to talk about, this blue one with the 3 towers, also designed by Jeannie Gang. She beat her own record. Give it up for Jeannie. This is St. Regis Tower, originally Vista Tower, built in 2019. It's got 6 different shades of blue, green, and bright glass to give the rippling effect along the facade. Each floor goes either in or out about 18 inches to give the subtle curve you can see on the corners. So again, designed by Jeannie Gang, graduate from the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana, winner of the MacArthur Genius Award. You'll notice that top tower is missing 2 floors. So during construction, they noticed that top tower would waver a little bit too much in the wind. They took everything out of those 2 floors besides the elevator and utility shaft. That allows for the wind to blow through rather than push the tower around. That feature, if you can believe it, is called a blow-through. The first half of the building is St. Regis Luxury Hotels. The second half of the building is luxury condominiums. They are priced at price available upon request. One time my boyfriend stayed here for business, and I told him, oh my gosh, I always talk about that building on my tour, take a bunch of pictures. He took 2 pictures, one of the hotel room and one of the hotel room bathroom. Okay, so we're heading out to the lake. Point towards me if you think the river flows into the lake. Point backwards if you think the lake flows into the river. Give me a thumbs up if you don't know, but you want to feel like you're part of something. Okay, for the most part, we don't know, and that's okay. So, all around the world and here in Chicago until the late 1800s, rivers mostly run into lakes, but we treated the river like garbage, where our sewage was dumped, where animal sewage was dumped, rotting meat, all of our garbage, anything we didn't want to deal with. Old New Yorkers we were never going to read during summers, right into the river. All of that nasty stuff emptied out into the lake, which was and continues to be our source of drinking water. If you do the math on that, we were drinking some nasty stuff. Everybody was getting cholera. The federal government stepped in. They said, you got to change this. Instead of finding a new source of drinking water, instead of throwing our trash somewhere else, we decided, let's make it someone else's problem. So we dug a canal connecting the south branch of the river to the Des Plaines River. It sat deeper and on a continental divide. So when the dam was burst, it reversed the flow of the river. Gravity took the water, sent it down that canal, which was called the Chicago Sanitary and Ships with a P Canal. So down the Des Plaines River, down the Illinois River, down the Mississippi River to St. Louis. They were not happy about it. They woke up to a taste of Chicago on January 2nd, 1901. They sued us. But the trial was held here, so we did win. They got their revenge. They bottled up the nasty water, sold it back to us. We still drink it to this day. It's called Budweiser. Classic boat tour joke. Come on. Okay, I'm going to pause so you can take pictures with this view of the skyline if you'd like. I can take your picture if you want. I'm very good at it, and then we'll get back to it once we turn around. If you need to go to the bathroom or anything, I would go now before there's a line at the end of the tour. And also, if you're drinking a beverage, an adult beverage, I'm not going to judge you for drinking this earlier in the day, but just finish it before we get back. You can't take it off the boat. It is a little nuanced. Consequently, there are 70 jet planes in the base of Lake Michigan. Someone gave Mayor Richard Daley enough money to look away. So these are luxury condominiums. A lot of famous people have lived here. Derrick Rose, Chance the Rapper, Joakim Noah, Burt Reynolds, Goldie Hawn. You'll notice that top area, that round part, that was once a French restaurant called Cité. It had great views of the Cité. But it shut down during the pandemic. It sat empty for a while. Someone recently this summer bought the space. They haven't gone public with who. Fingers crossed, I hope it's a Dave & Buster's. There is a rumor Oprah Winfrey lived in the building. She did not. She lived in Water Tower Place, but she was friends with the head chef of Cité. She'd go visit him in her sweatpants and stuff. People started a rumor she lived in the building. She did not. People just weren't used to seeing Oprah in sweatpants. Or the tallest building in the world. It was going to be called the Chicago Spire, designed by Spanish architect Santiago Calatrava. But then the recession hit. They lost all funding. All that they had started was a 70-foot deep foundational hole. So for almost 15 years, just a big scary hole over there. They recently started to use that foundational hole to build 2 twin residential towers. So imagine that tower, again, that's what it's gonna look like. Luxury condominiums, if you can believe it. This building to the right with the green, bronze, and glass, the brick masonry, more luxury condominiums. The bottom is European-style row houses with stacks of condos. They're called Riverside 1 and 2, designed by local Chicago architect James DiStefano. But he is a fan of New York City, as you can tell by the tops of the buildings. Little nods to the Statue of Liberty. That features 5 saltwater aquariums, a 16-person hot tub, disgusting, and 3 bedrooms. So they're having trouble leasing the property. It's very impractical space. This fountain over here, every hour on the hour, shoots out an arch of water across the river. It's called Centennial Fountain, built in 2001, designed by Dirk Lohan, the grandson of Mies van der Rohe. It celebrates 100 years of the reversal of the Chicago River, 100 years of us no longer. Lohan is also responsible for the 2002 renovation on Soldier Field, that glass part that looks like a UFO landed on a Coliseum. Other architects hate it. They call it the mistake on the lake. To the right, this concrete and green glass building, this is the Sheraton Hotel, one of the biggest hotels in the city of Chicago, 1,200 rooms, a ballroom big enough for you and 5,000 of your closest friends. They're getting married. Woo! Okay. That's cool. Okay, behind us is Columbus Drive. This is where we start to dye the river every St. Patrick's Day. This is a tradition started by the Chicago Plumbers Union in the 80s. So every St. Patrick's Day we start to dye the river a bright green. It's a vegetable-based dye that's supposed to be safe for the local environment, though long-term testing obviously hasn't happened. Up and to the right, coming into view, you'll see a building with a yellow dome on top that's called an onion dome. Built in the 1920s, this is the Intercontinental Hotel. This is the only neo-Egyptian skyscraper in the city of Chicago, so it's inspired by Egyptian architecture. If you walk up to the building after the tour, you'll notice a bunch of Egyptian-inspired carvings along the side. So you'll notice behind that big yellow dome there is a platform. That's called a parapet. That was originally for blimps to take off and land on. But as soon as they were done building it, the Hindenburg disaster happened. Come back again, we rearranged the buildings. It's different every time. And thanks so much again, you guys. And good luck in your next fiscal quarter.